Now let's start on some politics. And at least 17 prospective applicants in the voter registration exercise in the Akan constituency in the OT region have been arrested on suspicion that they are Togolese. Now, 2 nursing mothers are also said to be part of those arrested during the last phase of the ongoing voters registration exercise. Persons believed to be national security have also fired gunshot at Kodibenum and Chikatadie registration centers, all in the same constituency. Now, some residents and party representatives of both the MPP and NDC have been sharing their disappointment at the current development.
What happened? Was it this morning?
Yeah, this almost, let's take it in the afternoon.
Okay.
Around 12 something. We were here when some vehicle, 2 vehicles, pickups were here. And 2 people alighted in a vehicle, saying that they are national security. So they came interrogating the people in the queue about to register, where they come from, their identity, and others. And at the end, they selected about 15 of them, telling them they are not Ghanaians. So they are taking them away. So I came in. I, being the head teacher of the area, who knows some of the children, the people's villages here and there, came in. And I considered, oh, these people, I know some of them, they are from just a stone throw. I know their villages here, and some of them are even my pupils. And
pupils registering by this time?
Pardon?
You say some of them are your pupils?
They are my ex-pupils. They were my ex-pupils. So they end up leaving some of them, and at the end, they took 6 of them that they should enter the vehicle. And 1 was in the attempt to run away when they took a gun from the vehicle, gave out a warning shot, got hold of the 5 people, put them into the vehicle, and took them away. That was the incident.
So the one that was running, did you go or they arrested him?
They chased him and yet they couldn't get him, so he has gone.
Question in French, like bonjour. And then when you answer them, then they think you are from Togo.
Who asked you bonjour?
The national security.
Oh, is that what they are doing?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes, when they came in the morning, that is what they did. They called them, viens. When they came, they said, bonjour. Then they responded, bonjour. Then they said, they are from Togo. Meanwhile, they teach French in Ghana. Me like this, I can speak French.
Sure.
But yes.
So how do you say how are you in French?
How are you? Comment ça va?
Ça va très bien, merci.
Ça va très bien. You see? And when you say it, then they think you are from Togo. Then they march you into the car and then they'll take you away. Meanwhile, Akufo-Addo, our president, he was educated in France. He can speak French. Is he a Togolese or is a Francais? France. Some of them too, they have foreign this thing, like our politicians like this. They have foreign. Some of them have foreign passport, ID card, but they don't do anything to them. But you, the civilian, when you have it, then they say, no, you are from Togo. Me like this, if like I have a work in Togo, I'm doing work in Togo, and I'm from there, am I a Togolese? I'm not. I go there to work and come back. I'm not a Togolese.
Do you have people who live here and then work or school in Togo?
Like those people who they take them, they are from the border to Togo. Sometimes they go to Togo school. They don't attend. They be schooling at Togo. Meanwhile, they are in border to Togo. They are Ghanaians, so they can't speak none of the Ghanaian language. Like Ewe, sometimes they can speak Ewe, but it's Togo Ewe. And then Twitu, they can't speak English. They can't speak. So when they ask them, they say they cannot speak. They say they are from Togo. Meanwhile, they are not Togolese.
To come out. And then you more play 8. Play 80. Now you need to go air border. Mostly more Ghana. Now so we live in our Togo, but we are Ghanaians play 80. And the MPs be our enemy play 80. And when I'm about say,
I'm going to campaign.
You call power. Honorable City order. Honorable Government don't say. I think I know day. What about when you call it? Honorable Aziz order. When you more play 80. Will be a new how back say. When you more.
And the one free.
Was it?
I want free.
One I'm free play 80.
Moving on, the presiding bishop of the Parents Chapel Bishop Charles Ajanasari is asking the governing MPP and opposition NDC to commit to ensuring that they complete all projects started by previous governments, as well as end tribal politics as they campaign ahead of the 2020 elections. Now, this was part of 10 demands the bishop outlined in his virtual sermon on Sunday in a message titled "Destroying the Forces of Wickedness" as part of his national transformation sermons.
Is there not a cause for wanting a better Ghana than what we have today? Since they are all just beginning to campaign, is there not a cause to demand from Nana and John that in their campaigns they must make commitments that if they want us to vote them into power, then they must do the following. One, that they would deliver to us a civil service that is non-partisan. They must trust that the system will protect them, no matter the party that is in power. Number two, that they will complete the project started by the previous government and make use of the things. Number three, that tribal politics will not be upheld any longer in our body politic. Number four, that government will not spend our monies recklessly by incurring judgment debts and excessive borrowing. Number five, that politicians will not have different rules applied to them than the citizens. Number six, that their team will not insult their opponents, and people who disagree with them but will deal with the issues at stake. Number seven, that they will be swift to fight corruption. Number eight, that the political class will not sideline the other pillars of society. If we sideline the other pillars of society and make everything political, then when our football team plays, politicians will take the glory. Number nine, they must make a commitment that they will ensure that our democracy will allow us freedom of speech. 10, and my last one, that whoever is in power would allow a strong opposition and opposition television and radio stations.
The President, Nana Akufo-Addo, has cut sword for the construction of the Tamale water project. Now, the project has been funded by the UK Export Finance and also the Dutch Development Bank and expected to be completed in some 4 years. Currently, the water supply daily is some 22 million gallons. That is a short supply of some 11 million gallons as required. Martina Bugri has more in the following report.
Addressing the gathering, the president said the Tamale water project had two options, either to construct a new treatment plant or to expand the existing one. He said government opted for a new treatment plant at Yape, thereby making available 2 water treatment centers for Tamale and its environs.
The current water supply in Tamale is 9 million gallons per day, while demand is 20 million gallons per day. This is thus a shortfall of some 11 million gallons per day. I recounted the history of water supply to Tamale in order to place in proper context the significance of the current intervention to meet the water demand for Tamale and its environs, looking at a planning horizon of up to the year 2040. Government in deciding on the Tamale water supply project had 2 options to consider. Either rehabilitate the existing water treatment plant or construct a new water supply system. After carefully examining the 2 options, government decided on the construction of a new water treatment plant in Yape, thereby making available 2 water supply systems working concurrently to supply water to Tamale and its environs in order to guarantee the availability of enough potable water in the metropolis. This will extend the coverage area of water supply Furthermore, this option was found to be more reliable and sustainable in the long term because it will diversify water supply to the Tamale metropolis and its environment.
The President Nana Akufo-Addo said government's policy is to ensure all the 16 regions have access to water. The President said the project is the biggest in the 5 regions of the north.
To execute this project on a turnkey basis, government has secured a credit facility amounting to $223,287,973 United States dollars from the UK Export Finance and the Dutch Bank, London branch. The Tamale Water Supply Project seeks to expand the supply capacity of the Tamale metropolitan area and also improve on the flexibility of water supply by building a new water supply system which will rely on the White Volta and Yabin, with a 29,700,000 gallons per day capacity water treatment plant. This will be by far the biggest water project in the 5 northern regions and the second biggest in the history of our country.
He called on all to police the country's water bodies from activities such as galamsey to ensure sustainable water supply.
We expect beneficiary communities to contribute their quota towards ensuring the sustainability of these services by helping to protect the infrastructure so they can last long. One way to help improve the longevity of the treatment plants is for all of us, collectively, to protect our water bodies by stopping activities such as galamsey, sand drilling, and farming along river banks, all of which lead to their pollution. This will help guarantee improved water supply in terms of quality, quantity, and reliability to the people of Tamale and surrounding communities.
Well, we have to also tell you that Joy News is now set to broadcast an investigative report detailing stealing of cocoa by produce clerks of licensed cocoa buyers today. After 2 years of legal tussle, now the Missing Kilos explores how officials of state and privately licensed buying companies are just weighing scales just to steal as much as sometimes 100 kilos from a single farmer. Now, in the first part of the 3-piece documentary, Joy News investigative journalist Kwete Nati unveils a national plunder of the country's cocoa farmers.
After weighing my cocoa, I have brought the cocoa to the first shed at Amokwa. A man in his early 40s offers to buy the cocoa. He volunteers to carry the cocoa. He takes me to a mud-thatched house. He doesn't own his own shed. He weighs the cocoa at home. A bag of 70-kilogram cocoa now weighs 64 kilogram on his scale. He's demanding an extra 5 kilogram despite stealing 6 kilograms through the adjustment of the scale.
In this community, it will be impossible to find a shed that will weigh cocoa at 64 kilograms. Is there a depot at Ajanasari? Or do they also weigh the bag at 70 kilograms? It won't be weighed at 64 kilograms, but you need to factor other costs such as transportation.
I'm at the border town of Elubu. I want to test how pervasive this canker is in this region. This 6.4-foot tall purchasing clerk works with private license buying company Fudo. His shed looks like an old church block. It hasn't been whitewashed for a long while. He's taking stock of several bags of cocoa here, but he stops to attend to us. He drops the bag of cocoa on an old rusty scale. The 70-kilo cocoa now weighs 56 kilos. 14 kilograms is stolen on every bag brought to this shed.
Is that your brother? What do you want me to do?
No, battery about okay, carry my.
If you want me to weigh, I have no issue. I will do it for you. You can come for the money tomorrow. It's 57.
I'm at the State License Buying Company, PBC. A stout-looking produce clerk greets us with a smile. He indicates that he weighs a bag of cocoa at 67 kilograms instead of the official 64-kilogram unit set. Shockingly, the reading on the scale is 58 kilograms, a 12-kilogram difference. He indicates he will be deducting an extra kilo to dry the beans because they are not well dried.
Like the normal way they say.
What's the readings? I know that cocoa is supposed to be weighed at 64 kilograms.
67 kilos.
No, I weigh cocoa here at 67 kilograms.
Well, after being on hold for close to 2 to 3 years, now we've been given the go-ahead. It's premiering. It's the first of 3 parts, and this is great work by one of our leading investigative journalists, not only in Ghana, but right here at Joy News, Kwete Nati. Make sure that you watch out for the premiere time. But as you do that, let's also run this by you. Now, residents of Gaodumasi, Oshriman, in Sakina and other areas in and around Pokwase say they are disappointed in President Akufo-Addo and his government for unfulfilled promises which are to fix their roads. Now, some disappointed citizens who spoke to Joy News, Nana Yao PSA, said the roads have seen a rise in premature births and miscarriages in pregnant women living in the area. Now, they have also vowed not to vote, as doing so for decades had not so far yielded any result. There's more in the following report.
Holes in the roads are not a new development in Pokwase, a suburb of Accra under the Ga West Municipal Assembly. I'm currently squatting before one, the size of a small pool, and filling about a third of the roads here at the Pokwase-Odumase junction. Hundreds more like this are littered across the community. The stretch lasts for over 800 kilometers. That's some 30-minute drive or so, lasting all the way from the Pokwase-Odumase junction to Amasaman, Circle, and Sawam, Kotoku, Obeyeye, Dobro, and many other environs, including Awoshi, Banyard, all right here in Accra. One thing that you will notice is that rattling sounds from car bumpers, heartaches, backache, sweat, heat, and dust are usually highlights of the driving experience on these routes. The worst or the shocking news is that we are not even yet at the part of the road where the potholes are the steepest. This part of the road harbors potholes so large that it has become a temporary pond for all drivers that seek to get to the other side.
It's not good.
I'm going to speak to some of the residents here, the users of the road, on how they feel about it and how long this problem has occurred here.
Most of our mothers lose their pregnancies because of this condition of the road. The road is very rough, very bad. And the time that we relocated to this place, that was a year later, and we heard about many murders have been committed here. People have been robbed, and motor riders, and even market women. Some of them they have been robbed, some of them they have been killed. So please, we are apologizing to the president that he should please let the people to come and construct our road for our. But if this road is not constructed, we will never vote. We won't vote because we are fed up.
I want to remind President Akufo-Addo he has deceived us. He was here last November and promised to construct our roads within 3 weeks. If the roads are not fixed, he will lose the elections.
And Waka said 3 weeks time, Obama Yabe Yakwe, Mimna make us or see me bois, baby, or baby on from him. Akufo-Addo by Habeshe and Bo, Nanado Danko Beshe and Boha.
He promised our roads will be tarred before his next visit. I wonder how he will do that now when it's just 3 months to elections. Residents here are not respected as citizens.
And you mean to mention it?
Just say, Obi Yale Krana would then call Oduma Hospital. Obedu Krana Kwan is any panel.
Many patients die before reaching the Oduman hospital. Women have had miscarriages due to the bad roads. Some have bled to death in vehicles. I want President Akufo-Addo to know I am a full member of the NPP. But if things don't change this year, I will not vote.
Frank Tete is assemblyman for the Nsakana electoral area, which includes Ga Odumase, Oshuman, and Ablikuma Abase. He assured residents works on roads will soon be done.
Generally, as you can see, the road network within my electoral area is fairly bad. And as we speak now, we are doing something about it. The short person for us, things will be done very well from next week going. The road, at least the main roads will be in shape from next week going. From Obeye to Sakina to Duman to Abeland.
But some drivers of the Nsakana station, where residents of Ga Odumase, Oshuman, and some Pokwase residents board their commercial vehicles, say they are unmoved by this promise.
We are fed up with promises from both the NPP and NDC. They often do not fulfill them. I have been a driver here for almost 12 years.
What is the essence of voting now? We vote for our leaders to come and help us, but we are rather worsening the situation. So there's no need we vote for this year. This year, if they don't come to do the road, no votes. I have registered for the ID card, but I'm not going to vote. They come and give us assurance. We don't see any sign. The situation is just worsening and worsening.
The assemblyman, however, admits he's been unable to fulfill his earlier promises, but lays the blame at the doorstep of government. Would the people of this area be right if they say they are disappointed in government?
Yeah, to a large extent.
They are right?
Yeah, to a large extent. To a large extent, because the whole president came here and he assured us within 3 months we will see the tar road, but we couldn't say it. So to a large extent, they are right.
Will this promise ever be fulfilled? The residents are skeptical but want to be proved wrong. Residents here are not discriminating in their calls for road infrastructure, be it from central government or that of the local. They simply want their fair share of the national cake in the year of roads. PSC Nanaya Osafo, Joy News.
Moving on, the chief of Nankpanduri, Chief David Kansuk, has called for a third political force in Ghana's politics. Now, according to the chief, the dominance of the two main political parties, the NPP and NDC, has bred a lot of bickering and infighting among his people. Now, it's an issue, he says, has resulted so far in underdevelopment. Now, Chief David Kansuk believes a third force will unite the people and also bring development where necessary. Oh, I'll have to bring you that subsequently. But now, mate, for the latest news headlines, we will now be looking at a couple of the newspapers we do have for this Monday morning. Thank you for joining us. I went for a funeral in the Volta Regional Capital again. One friend of mine, a legal practitioner, so a lawyer, of course, Leonard Sedgwill, that passed away. So, yeah.
So you went to support your
So
friend.
I got hosted by another lawyer, Andrew Sadugu, over the weekend. So it was a great time. Yeah.
Well, it was a very long weekend for some of you out there because Friday was a holiday. And so you got to enjoy Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And tomorrow, Tuesday, Roland is a holiday as well.
Oh, it is? Yeah. Charlie, I'm not keeping pace.
We have to do the bank holidays and let the holidays be on Mondays.
I'm not keeping pace at all. Yeah.
Well, so you should take the day off. No, I didn't say that. All right, welcome back to
I know that it's impossible, so it's not what you say that will move me.
It's a fresh week, and oh, thank God, we're in the month of August as well. We've got gradually, like joke, like play, even with all the challenges that we face every day, we're still moving ahead. God is holding us together. Yeah.
But we do have Gifty and Rapia joining us this morning. Was resting throughout the weekend, and so Gifty, good morning to you.
Good morning. Hey guys, what's up?
Yeah. We're chilling.
Oh, yo, Mama, you sound excited.
Listen, Gitty, I feel like this is a fresh month of August.
Yes.
Should you pray for us or something like that?
Hey.
There's some,
prayer.
You should say something.
I can pray for you. I've been doing a lot of prayer lately. I can still pray for you, but let's not waste the time that we have for the
Gifty pa.
No, Gifty doesn't do short prayers. It's a full 1 hour.
You want me to do a prayer for you like right now?
Gifty, let's go ahead.
Thank you. But we thank God. We thank God for an amazing month. We thank God that it's going to be great, that all the promises that He's made concerning our lives will be manifested in the name of Jesus. So we're grateful for the month. We're grateful for the months that have gone, as difficult as they have been. God has kept us through it. So yeah, the prayer has been said. Amen.
Amen. Hey, ding ding. Okay, we've got the newspapers now. Let's jump into it. Gifty, what papers are you doing?
I have Penny the Penny 1 daily graphic right here with me. So I'm going to start with the daily graphic. The daily graphic today comes with a special page, but let me start with the front page. Ignore leaked papers. WAEC GES urge candidates to be focused. Okay. And the story is written by Severus Kalideri and Emmanuel Boni. Also, we have Parliament passes aircraft accident investigation bill. And I won't contest December 7 election. Dr. Endum is saying that on page 19. The Parliament's aircraft accident bill is on page 20 of the daily graphic. And Otunfo opens a Greek enterprise at KNUST. Then you have the special supplement on FreeSHS on the inside of the daily graphic newspaper, which I'm going to quickly get to right. So it is specially dedicated to the senior high school, senior high students who are writing the exams. So the banner there is FreeSHS here to stay. First batch begins Wassey. That's the special supplement, and page SS34, it has President wishes Wassey candidates well, success of FreeSHS program, role of National Food Buffer Stock Company. That's also on SS4. That's a supplementary paper on page 44 and then page 41. So the graphic today would certainly feel a lot heavier than you know it. So in the center spread, free senior secondary education, quality myth, looks like a write-up, an opinion that has been put there. There's a picture that comes with it. Yeah, that's the writer. Okay, I can't see the name, but yeah. So that's Professor Kwesi Opokwa-Mankwa.
The GS director. He's on our show later this morning, by the way. We're also analyzing, this is the first full circle of the free senior high school policy. And so we're dealing with that matter extensively with persons who have also done some work assessing the policy when it started and where we are today. So we're talking about this issue, Gifty.
It will be interesting to listen to, and I urge everybody to take the time to listen. But President wishes Wassey candidates well. That story is there for you. And be good ambassadors, justify government investments. That's from the Director General of Ghana Education Service. And I wish you success in your exams. That's the center spread. I'm going to go quickly to the back page of the newspaper, which is what I end it with. So, man 27 dies after inhaling ammonia on fishing vessel. Della Russell writes that story. And Kyoka supports farmer groups in COVID-19 fight, also by Samuel Dodu, my classmate. And that's it for the Daily Graphic newspaper, Mama V. I have the Dispatch as well. I don't know if you want me to continue, if you want me to hang on.
Please continue and just finish it.
Okay, so let's go to Uncle Ben's paper, the Daily Dispatch banner headline, How Rawlings appointed Kufuor as a hoped minister under the PNDC. See full story on the back page. Comes with a picture of former President Rawlings and President Kufuor. And then Susseya in the lynching of 90-year-old woman arrested. Stories on page 2. NLA licenses KGL Technology. And what else do we have in the Dispatch newspaper? Just hang on for me quickly. Let me take a look. Okay, so I'll take you to the back page of the Daily Dispatch newspaper. The back page of the Daily Dispatch newspaper says, okay, yeah, I got this. One of over 100 revelations in Kwamina Ahoy's Working with Rawlings book, How Rawlings appointed Kufuor as a minister under the PNDC. So that story is there, comes with a picture of the book. So that's it for the Dispatch. I do have the Statesman, but I only have the front page. I'll go through it. The Statesman says, okay, banner headline, sidelined Emisa Arthur, saved Nana. Okay, the story is on page 2. I'm not sure what it is. Manasseh reveals, okay, so it asks that Manasseh reveals how NBC running mates escaped Mahama's dismissal. NSS set record straight on NDC cheap propaganda. Akufo-Addo, my presidency has changed Ghana's political narratives. And 26,000 youth get presidential business support. And finally, Chief of Staff is saying Akufo-Addo deserves another term. That story is on page 3 of the Statesman newspaper. So that's it for the Graphic, the Statesman newspaper, and the Daily Dispatch. Mama V and Roland.
Okay, let's do the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Front page of the Times. Leaked 2020 Wassey papers fake. WAEC, BNI, CID alerted. KNUST outdoors first female vice chancellor. She is Professor Mrs. Rita Akosua-Dixon. She's been sworn in as the first female vice chancellor of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. NLA KGL limited partner to revolutionize Ghana's online lottery. Western Region embarks on second phase of nationwide disinfection exercise. Ghana's confirmed COVID-19 cases hit 37,014. On the back page, government distributes 300 subsidized outboard motors to fishermen in Greater Accra. Western Region embarks on second phase of the nationwide disinfection exercise. Well, the full story is actually on the back page of the Times. I'll continue with the Finder, front page. 16 model senior high schools in Zongos, one in each region, according to the Vice President. Details of that on page 9 in the paper, and NEIP complete training of 26,500 entrepreneurs, $356.1 million water projects for 1.2 million people in northern, northeast, and Savannah regions. The ambassador of the project, silent ambassador, is Gifty Ando-Apia. NDC's plan to cancel national service for teachers disingenuous, according to the Secretariat. That's the National Service Secretariat. Register and vote for NPP. That's a call by the Chief of Staff. I guess it's related to what Gifty reviewed in the Daily Statesman. So that's it for the Finder. Roland Walker?
Yeah, and well, I think that'll be it for now. If we
haven't reviewed the Daily Guide. You've been looking at it.
I know, but just because of time, I thought maybe. But okay, so let me just show you the front page of Daily Guide. Has stories on the president firing Mahama. He is most incompetent, according to the president. We also do have other stories there about Mills resigning as president, and all contained in that book. And then we also, so we also do have the custodian. Audu Mahama, good morning to you. The custodian has on the front page, Mahama JJ's camps clash over slanderous and treacherous book, and it's all because Dana Gbodapi had also been issuing a statement slamming the content of that book by Kwame Nkrumah. But that'll be it. Okay.
Okay, let's review the publisher. Front page of the publisher. Mahama accuses Akufo-Addo of ethnic discrimination in voter registration. Elembele MPP candidate voter ID seized by the Electoral Commission. NLA licenses KGL to operate online lottery. 2 moms killed their 4 children. Very sad story there in the page today. In the paper today. We'll touch a bit on it. But the banner headline says, nightmares at GRA over Unipass ICUMS revenue. There's a picture of the chair of the board of the GRA, Professor Stephen Adai, and Amishadai Owusu Amoa. So details of that on page 6. We'll come back to giving you some details. Let's do the Gold Street Business and the Economy Times. Gold Street Business says record 10.6% economic contraction during second quarter, but business confidence survey depicts modest recovery. So main stories really on the front page of that paper today by way of business. And then the Economy Times, credit to private sector by banks slashed, and reserve money growth up by 21%. Pharmaceutical companies get $200 million dollar private fund to support production. So headlines, front page of the Economy Times and the Gold Street Business. Let's get some details of the stories. Gifty, any story you want to highlight?
Well, I don't know. The story that I want to talk about is not in newspapers, but we certainly can get to it. In the newspapers, though, interested in the Wassey. I mean, that's like the biggest story today until what's happening with the voter registration exercise, which I want to comment on briefly. So with the Wassey, over the weekend, I saw this document going around, passworded documents going around. Essentially, you have to, once you try to open it, you put in a password, and you see what looks like an integrated size paper. I don't know how authentic that is, but we've seen what the WAEC is saying.
The West Africa Examination Council says it's not.
Yes, and they're saying that the students should ignore it. It looks to me as if, some people have said there is passing for this particular crop of Wassey students is a must. And they believe that it is a must for the government because of FreeSHS. They think the government wants to make a point and say, look, this is our intervention. We brought it, and see just how good our students have done. Okay, so I don't know if that is what's happening, but I wouldn't put it past any government of Ghana that has introduced that has sort of implemented a manifesto, a political manifesto. So I won't put it past any government if that's what's happening. My only hope is that we actually get the students to understand what they're learning. Already there is a fundamental issue that people have raised with the way we learn and the things that we're taught and everything. And the fact that after you're taught, you go to real life and most of the things don't really apply. So we just have to figure it out. How do we want our students to grow? Are we really teaching them anything, any values? That's all I want to say. And I hope that they are really learning like for themselves, even if they pass. And it's because government has put whatever, the GES, whatever collaboration has gone on, all these conspiracy theories are true. I still want them to know that they have to pass for themselves. They have to learn and understand what they are being taught so that they can apply it to their lives later on in life. But whatever it is, I wish them the very best in these exams. I mean, this must be the toughest batch of students we've ever had. Look at all the things they've gone through, all the political football we've played with the system. And now, the COVID, they had to study through it, and now they're going to write the exams. They must really be tough, and I wish them the very best.
Absolutely. There's a story in the Publisher about two mothers in two regions killing their children, allegedly. One happened in the Ashanti region. It says within 1 week, two mothers, one in the Ashanti region and the other in the Greater Accra region, have been arrested on charges that each of them had killed two biological children. 28-year-old Abigail Agbubia in Greater Accra is suspected to have killed her two young children, aged 2 years and 8 months, respectively. And then in the Ashanti region, another mother by name Ajua Juliana is also under arrest over suspicion that she had also killed her two children, one being just a month old and the other 2 years. So the mother in Ashanti region, it is not clear why this had happened, but she's under arrest. They're investigating the matter. The other one in the Greater Accra region, mine here, we carried on Joy News extensively and over the weekend. And it sounded like, well, from the reports from residents, people who know her, sounded like somebody who was a bit overwhelmed and was looking to free herself. So this is, listening to the report sounded like more psychological. She thought she wanted to be free.
Exactly.
So
and Mama, I wanted to draw your attention to, I mean, you've had children. I don't have any. I don't know how it works. But this is what I chanced on this over the weekend, postpartum psychosis. And and I'm just reading to you what I just pulled up right now. It's a severe mental illness, and it starts suddenly in the days or weeks after having a baby. And the symptoms could vary, and they change as well rapidly. It can be depression, confusion, hallucinations, and delusions. So that is postpartum psychosis. I think, is it time we paid a bit more attention to this? How would a mother, I can't think of it. I just can't bring myself to understand. How would a mother look at their babies and put poison in the food for them to eat? And she admits that for the one in Tema, the story I've read said she admits to doing that. She's obviously not okay. I think instead of, criminalizing their behavior quickly, of course it's criminal. You've killed somebody. But can we begin to look at their mental states? Because we don't need to look far. Postpartum psychosis is part of the process. Mama, you had children. Maybe you can share experiences with I don't know how it is.
I did go through my own experiences where I cut my entire hair. I mean, people go through different things. I have a friend who is still struggling with it and going through different things. Maybe we can assemble a few mothers so we can all share our experiences. That way people will be encouraged and know that, well, after childbirth, you can go through some things, but you can also have support.
Well, so on Friday when the story broke, we spoke to, the first thing I decided to do, to speak to Dr. Eugene Dodoi, because, people just normally don't kill their children. It's not a thing that a normal person would do. And you get to find that because I've been very close to people who practice psychiatry, etc. We have the poor layout of our psychosocial support systems. So people have mental problems. Either they are depressed because of stress, or there could be other problems within the ecosystem or the environment that tends to make them not think right. And that is where, if we have the right system, they will be identified and they'll seek help, or help will be brought to them.
Yeah.
But obviously, you analyze what the lady was doing before she committed the act. And the video itself, the professional said, look, there's a criminal aspect. Yes, the police will have to deal with that. But if you look on the face of it, she doesn't show any remorse. She doesn't even think there's anything wrong with what she did. It definitely won't be a normal person.
That's not a normal, yeah.
Okay,
So,
but I mean, it's not up to us to say that the health experts and the experts will have to confirm that.
Yes.
But if you put in the right in our thoughts, it obviously doesn't look like she's okay.
I listened to Dr. Eugene Dodoi on the desk on news desk on Friday, where he also talks about some patients of his who have also gone through similar situations. So I guess the point. And it's good that we talk about it. We should spend the holiday tomorrow talking about some of these things because it's happened to someone. This has been reported. Can you imagine the other cases that nobody reports on, but it's still related to this?
I looked at the babies, in the pictures of the babies just lying lifeless, and it hurts so much. It's not even funny.
Yeah. Well, we have to end the review here. Gifty, you wanted to talk about the voters' registration, except that we've run out of time, unfortunately. We've got plenty of stories on my...
All right, no problem.
Plenty of stories on myjohnline.com, including this one that Gifty wanted to talk about so badly. Unfortunately, we have to make way for sports. Stay with us.
Hi there, it's a Monday morning. My name is Benedict. It's time to update you in the world of sports. And of course, a lot happened over the weekend with the highlight being the English FA Cup, which Arsenal won their 14th English FA Cup title after beating Chelsea by 2-1. They actually came from a goal down to win that game. Also, the Serie A ended with Chilo Immobile becoming the top scorer in Europe with 35 goals. Well, we'll try and see what that means for the young man. Formula One also happened over the weekend here on the local scene. For us, the first ever edition of the Joy Sports FIFA Face-Off happened on Saturday with Asante Kotoko goalie Danlad Ibrahim and Hartlepool goalkeeper Richard Arthur facing off. Now, Danlad talked tough competition and he did not disappoint as he finished off Arthur in a best-of-5 series. Now, giving the Kotoko fans the bragging right over their fierce rivals. Well, Danlad was elated with a victory.
Actually, I'm very happy, and I played with a better player as well because he's a very good player because I didn't even score him more than 4 goals. So actually, he's a very good player, but unfortunately, he can't fit me because I train and I just prepared very well before coming because I know this match was very, very crucial. So I decided to train very hard with my colleague players in Kumasi, and I deserve to win. I deserve to win.
Certainly, you win in 3 games out of a best out of 5 series. You do deserve to win. But let me ask you this: when you came into the tournament and you started your first game, you drew in that match. Now, before the game or before the tournament, you did say that you're the type of player who observes your opponents first. So in the first half, second half, you check how they play and then you readjust. Is that why probably the first game did end in a draw, because you're looking at how he plays?
Exactly, because that's how I play my game. And
so that was the winner of the Joy Sports FIFA Face-Off, the first edition of that championship. Well, for Richard Arthur, who came into the competition hopeful of a win, he explained what actually caused this defeat.
Looking at his strategy, as we started the game, I underrated him. But literally, I saw that he was very good. So, in fact, congrats to him. He has really done well.
So what happens now? Because before the...
Well, thanks for still staying with us here on the AM show. Today, we're looking at the FreeSHS policy. It's been a full first cycle since its inception. Of course, it started with a lot of issues, plenty controversies. Remember, we went into the tracks as well. We want to take you back to when it started. and where we are today with the students sitting beginning with this main exam today. A number of things happening today with the officials in the Education Ministry and the Ghana Education Service going around to inspect the ongoing exams. The Wassey, there's the integrated science paper that was leaked, but that was quickly debunked by officials. Why coming out to say that that was fake? We've had the CID and the BNI all looking into this matter of the fake leaked paper. So as the first students of the FreeSHS sit for the exam, we're looking at the policy itself. The policy that brought with its free package tuition, no admission fees, no library fees, no science center fees, no computer laboratory fees, no examination fees, and no utility fees. In addition, the beneficiaries also receive free textbooks, free boarding, and free meals, while day students also get a meal at school for free. Well, there are a number of people who have done some work in this policy, this area of looking at this whole FreeSHS policy. We'll be talking to them about it. We also have a conversation with the Ghana Education Service Director General, Professor Kwesi Opoku Amankwa, who will be telling us about where we are as well. He's also done some write-ups on the FreeSHS, which has been published in the Daily Graphic newspaper. So we will run by him a few of the things and also get clarification in terms of the number sitting for the exam today and going forward. Let me quickly introduce you to two of my guests who are joining us via Zoom for this conversation. Mr. Kofi Asari is Executive Director, Africa Education Watch. Good morning to you, sir, if you can hear me. Well, we also have Mr. Clement Apak. He's an MP and member of the Education Committee of Parliament. He will also be joining us in this assessment. Can I say good morning to you, gentlemen, if you can hear me? Okay, not quite. We would also get Professor Kwesi Opoku Amankwa, who's Director General of the Ghana Education Service. When we do get hold of them, we will start this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be back after this. All right, thanks for staying with us here on the AM show. Let's begin our education conversation, assessing the free senior high school policy, knowing that the first full cycle of the policy, well, almost coming to an end with the students sitting for Wassey today with the paper that, well, we thought had been leaked, but of course that's been refuted. That's the integrated science paper. Let's introduce our guest to you as we begin the conversation, and as and when we do get the Director General of the Ghana Education Service, we will rope him in the conversation. But he's written quite extensively in the Daily Graphic newspaper, well, telling us about progress of the free senior high school policy, how it all started with people doubting that this could even be possible, and how we have come very far with the policy even oversubscribed. One of the other issues has been quality, and he says a few things about it. We'll be looking at exactly what he says, but also really checking if that is still an issue. Straight on Zoom, we're joined by Kofi Asari, Executive Director, Africa Education Watch. We also have Mr. Clement Apak, who is MP and member of the Education Committee of Parliament. Good morning to you, gentlemen. Thank you for your time here on the AM show.
Hi, good morning. Good morning to you as well. I'm actually the deputy ranking member on the Committee of Education.
Great. Good to have the two of you. I want to start with Mr. Kofi Asari because you did some work a year and a half into this whole policy, assessing it. We've come to a full cycle now. There are celebrations, if you like, from this government, the Education Ministry with the Director General talking about it and saying, for instance, that the quality conversation is a myth. He writes extensively on it in the Daily Graphic newspaper of today. So let's talk about your findings following the free senior high school policy. Where are we? Where have we come from?
Well, let me begin by saying that, you know, policy proposals by political parties should never be politicized in this country.
anytime a political party makes a proposal on a social policy especially, it must be critically reviewed without necessarily downplaying whether or not the policy can be implemented. Sometimes it leads to the loss of confidence and also loss of public interest in the policy. And this is how come the free senior school policy has come or has become a very, very, very politically charged topic. You know, ordinarily it should have been a popular policy aimed at ensuring that the poor and economically vulnerable who otherwise were struggling to pay their fees will now have access to free education. But the political antecedents to it is what has made it in an unfortunate political issue, which may be viewed with other lenses than the expect educational lenses. Now, let me go to the policy itself. You know, the policy, I am a firm believer in universal secondary education, and I believe that for African countries to be to develop to the level of those in South America and then in Western Europe, we need to have a system of education that ensures that the least qualified person on the street has an education to the level of secondary education. And so ensuring that every child in Ghana would have access to secondary education, which is universal secondary education, is the right way to go. It ensures that before anyone drops out of school, at least that person has some appreciable level of cognitive development, and then some appreciable level of critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills that the person can use to enter the world of work, either to learn a trade or to start working. And so it is very, very important that at a point, our constitution envisages that we must progressively ensure that every child has access to secondary education. And the time to ensure that everyone has access to that secondary education is now, because we've been doing this constitution business for about 25 years now. The policy has had its own challenges, we admit, because every policy in the education sector will definitely have challenges. You are working with human beings, working in Africa, within a continent and a country of resource constraints, issues relating to practices that inhibit access and participation. So there are a lot of challenges with the program. But between the time it started and today, 3 years from now, I can say that the government has done a yeoman's job in managing the program within the constraints of resources, within the constraints of varying public perceptions and within the constraints of our limited educational infrastructure. It's more or less doing something out of what some people or many people felt was impossible. And so on the scale of doing something, instead of looking on helplessly and watching students struggle to enter school, if within 3 years we've been able to enroll up to 1.2 million children, prior to 2017, there were about 880,000 children in secondary schools. It was less than 900,000. If today we have 1.2 million children enrolled, it means that we've been able to add about 300,000 to that stock. That is no mean feat, irrespective of the quality deficits. And given the resource constraints, as I mentioned, given the infrastructure constraints, given the political mistrust, and then the varying public perspectives of whether it was possible or it wasn't going to be possible, I think the government has proven a lot of people, not wrong per se, but proving to them that with very, very limited constraints, we can still achieve something for our children.
Okay, so just before I go to Mr. Clement Apak, I just want to ask you on the quality issue. Is the quality issue a myth, as the Director General says in his write-up in the graphic today? Because we were all talking quality, we were worried.
Well, first of all, good morning to you, and good morning to my compatriot on the other side. I'm hoping the director will join us. And good morning to viewers. I have not had a chance to see the write-up you are referring to by the Director General of the Ghana Education Service. But I'm sure that before midday, I would have had time to look at it and to digest it properly. But I will go by the conversation so far and the questions you have posed. Yes, we have every reason to worry about quality. And although the Director General may have written, I believe, eloquently to eulogize and then justify the job that he has been given as part of an effort to implement this policy, we still must take what he has put out with a grain of salt. I say so because it will be very difficult for the rest of us to properly assess quality because we don't have all the information, we don't have all the indices. But be as it may, when we raised and many Ghanaian parents and persons in the educational sector raised concern about quality, it was not in the context that was meant to, if you like, attack government. It was based on reality. It was not just mere political propaganda. We all know that when it comes to effective teaching and learning, there are certain parameters and expectations that we know when those are in play and in place, it enhances effective teaching and learning. So we cannot downplay the impact of classroom sizes, for example, the impact of the availability of space in terms of dining halls, the impact in the availability of libraries, the impact in the availability of furniture, and even more importantly, the role of the teachers. But we all know that in the wake of the implementation of this program, there were deficits in all of the areas that I have mentioned. The issue of overcrowding in classrooms, which then led to the introduction of the double track system and the introduction of the semester system that allowed students to stay away from school for several months than usual. The fact that many teachers were overburdened because of an increased workload. They didn't even have the chance to take a breath before another truck had to come to campus. And in fact, if we have to sum it up, we can speak about the government through GES procuring past questions and answers for the students and their instructors. All of those presupposes that government itself was very worried because they knew that the conditions that prevailed were not optimum to prepare the students traditionally the way we have all come to know. And therefore, government, through the GES, saw it fit to try and go a further step, unprecedented as it might be, that government itself then went out and arranged to procure past questions and examiners' reports to assist these students. So on the issue of quality, I think it is something that is still hanging. And I don't have any reason to swallow hook, line, and sinker what the GES Director General says. As the saying goes, the sweetness of the pudding is in the eating. So we wait to see what is going to happen. But you see, there's another point that I wanted to add. My good brother made mention of one or two issues that he believes government has done a lot to address. And he mentioned the issue of resources. As a member of parliament, I can tell you that in the wake of the presentation of the media budget, we now know that the total amount that government has expended on this program is 3.2 billion Ghana cedis, 3.2 billion Ghana cedis. But I know that cumulatively, from when the program started initially, 2017, although it is only the current batch of students who are enjoying the full complement till date, Parliament has voted 5.2 billion Ghana cedis in support of this program. And it is important to clarify that the funding for the free senior high school is exclusive of the total budget of the Ministry of Education. So if we provided 5.2 billion Ghana cedis just for the free senior high school, to address the challenges and to ensure its proper implementation in a way that would inure to the benefit of Ghanaians. And government didn't use all of that. Then on what basis can anyone claim that resources were unavailable? And if I may quickly add, government had also announced that it was constructing initially some 804 infrastructural projects to ease the burden as part of the effort to get rid of the obnoxious double track system. In fact, the board chair of the GES had indicated that before September 2019, at least 350 schools were going to be weaned off the free senior high school double track system. As we speak now, we don't know, even before the advent of COVID-19, we don't know whether indeed those 350 senior high schools have been weaned off and how many schools still remain to be weaned off. So all of these are questions that I believe need to be clarified.
Okay. Ms. Asari, let me give you the opportunity and also let you talk about the quality issue.
Yeah, I mentioned that there are quality issues with the program, and quality issues can only be fixed if the GES admits that there are quality issues. The GES and the Ministry of Education have always taken a defensive stance whenever CSOs like mine raise issues relating to quality. And I don't regret them because of the politically charged nature of such a program. But that will always never deter us from raising the quality issues. The first issue has to do with the quality of financing. What is happening is that the Free Senior High School is currently running heavily on loans. We had to procure a 1.5 billion GET fund securitized loan. We securitized part of the GET fund to raise this loan for the next 15 years, okay, repayable in the next 15 years, to finance mainly Free Senior High School infrastructure and expansion to increase access. Now, what is happening is that because of the loans that we are running the program on, you have a situation where we are depleting the stock of GET fund available annually. Last year, for instance, almost about 40% of the GET fund went into the payment of loans. This year's allocation, same, about 40% of the fund went into the servicing of loans, which meant that very little or less than 1 billion was available for disbursement to institutions. This has created a problem. Apart from that, we have a situation where the heavy cost of the Free Senior High School policy has crowded basic education from the education financing ecosystem. And so we are now spending more money on secondary education than basic education. What is quite worrying is that 10 years ago, we were contributing about 35% of the budget to basic education. Today, we are doing something less than 20%. And my worry is this: the basic education system is supposed to be the foundation of whatever must feed into the senior high school. And so we currently, with the prevailing 70% of Ghanaian children not being able to read and write in English nationally, and with only about 2% being able to do so in districts like Yendi and others. When you see resources being stifled for basic in support of secondary education, you worry, because one of the key causes of the poor learning outcomes in basic schools is the lack of adequate investments in teaching and learning in basic schools. And so we are at a point where we need to begin to think whether we want to trade off quality at the basic level for quantity at the senior high school level. And that is where the marriage between the cost efficiency, or the need for cost efficiency at the senior high school level versus the need for more investment at the basic level will have to be made. Let me give you an example. In the past 1 month alone, Government has spent about 150 million Ghana cedis on expenses that were not budgeted. I don't want to say they were COVID related or COVID occasion, because some of them could have been managed properly. We seem to be on a spending spree on anything free senior high school, and meanwhile find difficulty in raising funding for investment in basic schools. We just procured about 75 million Ghana cedis worth of calculators for students in final year to write
mathematical sets.
Mathematical sets. Okay. Now, no country is doing this. Sierra Leone is not doing this. Liberia is not doing this. Nigeria is not doing this. You know, well, we have to, and it wasn't part of our plan. It wasn't part of the budget that went to the Parliament for approval last year, November. It wasn't part of our plan. It's just an emerging expenditure. How do you rank such an expenditure on the scale of economic efficiency, on the scale of spend efficiency, and on the scale of allocative efficiency? Already, our spending and allocative efficiency is less than 48%, one of the lowest in the world. Africa, including Ghana, is a continent that commits the second highest resources to education as a percentage of GDP. But when it comes to spending efficiency, we are the last on the scale. We score less than 50, and we are 20 percentage points behind the last but one continent. And so when you spend such amount of money on calculators, and then you pay Wassey registration fees, something that parents should be able to participate and contribute, because you are clothing the child, you are feeding the child, you are housing the child, you are giving the child books free, you are giving everything free to the child, including even past questions. So if parents want to contribute, or parents are allowed to participate by just paying between 300 cedis and 400 cedis of examination registration fees, wouldn't it be the only, at least, significant contribution a parent should make? Because the parent must be a contributor to the education development process of the child. And so when we spend this way on the free senior high school policy, then we deny basic education of critical investment that they were due previously, or they are due now, to ensure that the quality of basic education improves. And so that is the challenge we are facing now. Basic versus secondary.
Okay. And I'm not sure, if, Dr. Park, if you've heard the president's given the hints that the free education is going to be extended to tertiary institutions as well. I wonder, objectively though, because you said on the education committee, if this has been such a success, even with the funding issue that we're talking about, that Mr. Asari hinted, talked about extensively, if this has been such a success that we can now begin to talk extending it to tertiary institutions?
Well, I have heard that, but you must also remember that this is a political year, and we are warming up towards election 2020.
But isn't it the same when the president talked about the free senior high school? Some people were doubting, but it became a policy that was implemented.
Well, he is not the only one who has hinted as such. So let's see, when the manifestos of the different parties are put out, then we can debate the content. But everyone is allowed to make proposals and to say things that they intend to do. But you see, it is important that I re-emphasize some of the issues raised by my colleague. He raises some very important matters that I believe should occupy the attention of Ghanaians, and I have a few more to add. You may be aware that even in the current manner in which the program has been implemented, although it is said to be free, it is the case that government or the state does not provide core textbooks to the students. In fact, rather it is elective textbooks to the students. Government only provides core textbooks. And even in the provision of those core textbooks, what happens is that when you are in year one and you are going to year two, you have to leave the core textbooks of year one behind. But at the end of the day, when you are to prepare and to be examined, it is the expectations that your revision would cover from year 1 to year 3. That in itself presents a problem. The students, as they are starting to write their papers today, are also expected to pass elective subjects. Yet, the state or government has not made provision to include the cost of those elective textbooks in the arrangement that presents this program as free. Very quickly, with regards to Get Fund, we all know the reasons why Get Fund was set up. And we shouldn't be holding brief for government. Where there are shortfalls, we ought to point those out to government. Because if proper planning, proper arrangement, and proper expenditures had been undertaken, I believe that some of the infrastructural deficits that we believe is impacting on the proper implementation of the program in a way that would inure to the students first and foremost, and to the rest of us as Ghanaians and as a nation would have been addressed. So even if government chose to procure masks, government had said earlier on that through the board chair of GES, that they were going to take about some 350 senior high schools off the double track system by building the structures that were announced, 804, and in the 2020 budget, it was said that the number had increased in terms of the structures to 962. To think that in 2020, only last month, I filed a question in Parliament, and the response from the minister was that only 266 or so structures had been completed. Raises a lot of questions. But remember that I indicated that the amount that Parliament has voted in support of the program is above and beyond the amount that the Minister for Finance indicated was expended. So what has happened to the 2 billion, as far as my calculation is concerned, that was approved for use in support of the program? Couldn't these monies have been applied towards addressing some of the challenges that many of us have been speaking to? But you see, Mama V, there is a very important point that many of us are forgetting. One of the cardinal reasons why this policy was introduced was to ensure that every student of school-going age who completes junior high school gains access to senior high school. And that is why, if you look at the way the program has been implemented, there has not been a cutoff point or a threshold. But if you look at the figures of students who wrote the BECE, in 2017, and have now reached the point of writing Wassey in 2020, that total number of students was 468,060. 468,060. If you go by the president's announcement of government taking the examination fees of students who were slated to be writing Wassey in 2020, he said that 313,873 students were going to be writing Wassey this year, and government was going to bear the cost of their examination fee to the tune of 74 million Ghana cedis. Well, later on, Wayi came to say that in actual fact, the president got it wrong, and that the total number of students who were to write Wassey this year was 375,737. Give or take. If we go by the president's figures, that would mean that in excess of 114,000 students who completed basic education, wrote BEC, are currently not writing Wassey. If we go by the figures presented by WAEC, it would mean that some 92,323 students who should have been writing Wassey with their colleagues as they all transitioned from BEC are not writing. So if the program was supposed to ensure that the most important barrier, as this government put it, making it difficult for students to access secondary education was cost. And therefore, the cost has been taken, including examination fees. What then is the reason for the certain disappearance of some 2,000 students between?
Let me run that by Mr. Sari to see if there's a way to consolidate these numbers. Mr. Sari?
I mentioned earlier that obviously every policy will have challenges. The rollout of this program had initial challenges. In the year one, for instance, because of the limited infrastructural capacity, about 20% of those who were placed were not able to actually enroll. And so if you look at the first year's data, percentage placed and percentage enrolled, there was a 20% gap. But if you look at last year's data, last 2019-2020 academic year data, percentage placed and percentage enrolled, the difference was only 10%. It's reducing. It meant that the first batch in year one, 20% of those who were placed could not enroll due to the limited vacancies we all alluded to, which occasioned the rollout of the double track. And also the number you are referring to from WAEC obviously excludes students who are doing secondary and technical courses. I mean, secondary technical courses.
Yeah, but how could the president get that wrong if they're all beneficiaries of the same policy?
No, they are not beneficiaries of the same policy. The president mentioned students who have registered for WAEC. If you are a secondary technical student and you are doing woodwork or you are doing catering, you don't write WAEC. You write an examination under NAPTEX. So the president couldn't have announced the payment of your WAEC fees. You don't write a WAEC examination. So he was referring to the percentage of students in the senior high school system who write WAEC, not NAPTEX. But the point I wanted to make was that, yes, the policy sought to ensure that everybody who goes to BECE is able to transit to senior high school 1 without being inhibited by cost considerations.
Okay, so just a little clarification. So we have the number
9 in maths or English. Even currently, if you have a fail at 9 in maths or English, any of them, you cannot be placed by the computer. These are things we are advocating must be removed. Because if you are talking universal secondary education, it means that Kofi Asare must go to secondary school on the basis of rights, not on the basis of his ability to pass maths or English. And so as we expand the program beyond politics and situate it within the SDG 4 and Ghana's education strategic plan, and begin to appreciate that it is important for the basic human capital in this country to be the senior high school level, we will get to the point where, and we have already gotten to the point, where no one should be excluded by basis of the result they attained at the basic school level.
Then why do we write BECE then?
That's why we have called for the scrapping of the BECE. We don't expect the BECE to travel to next year, because the BECE is now a useless examination. The only purpose of the BECE is just to place students to determine who goes to pre-sec or who goes to pass secondary school. That's all. That's the only thing the BECE does today, to determine who goes to a grade A school and who goes to a grade B or grade C school. The BECE is not what it's used to do. It's not used to do any other thing apart from that. And so once we develop a continuous assessment system which has credibility, there won't be the need to undertake a BECE again. Don't forget that under the new curriculum arrangement, we have 4 standardized tests. From class 2, there's the first one, class 4, the second one, class 6, the third one, and then JSS 2, the fourth one. So there are 4 standardized curriculum-based tests that will be undertaken across the country for every student as a way of gauging the academic attainment levels of students. And also because the curriculum we are using now is now standard-based, you want to know the attainment of the various standards, okay, by the children. It will help us in reinforming policy and all administrative actions. It's good. Yeah. But because the children will be writing an examination every other year, 2 years from class 2, class 4, classes, JSS 2, it will amount to examination fatigue for you to assess the student in JSS 2 and also let them write another national exam in JSS 3. And so stakeholders appreciate that the BECE is no more relevant in this sense. Once we have a system, a continuous assessment system to determine who should go to pre-sec or who should go to Chobodon Secondary School, we don't need any BECE. Don't forget that BECE is only a Ghanaian examination. It is not done in Nigeria. It's not done in Sierra Leone, not done in Liberia, not done in Gambia. It's only a Ghanaian thing. And so we expect that the BEC will face that very soon. But let me quickly say that moving forward, it's important for us to move beyond the policy of the Free Senior High School and situate it properly within national context. Let's appreciate that the management framework currently running at the GES for the Free Senior High School is not sustainable. The Free Senior High School is running on a political system, a politically set up system at the Ministry of Education, which is called the Free Senior Secretariat. Everyone there is appointed politically, and most of them are political actors. Okay, and so it blurs accountability. The Secondary Education Division of GES is an entire division. It has been sitting there doing virtually nothing when it comes to the Free Senior High School. And so we need to gradually migrate the management framework of the GES and situate it within the bureaucracy, the public service proper, and divorce party people from the management of the senior high school and give it to the GES proper to do their public service work. That will ensure that there's greater accountability and also greater acceptance of criticism and also a more professional approach towards managing a program. At least it's gone 3 years, and so we can say that if the partisan interests were brought on to ensure that the thing is cooked, fine, it's already cooked. Let's migrate it to the GES system, because that's why we are paying over 500 teachers to do so. The second issue is that let's begin to be expedient in the financing of the Free Senior High School policy. Without spending efficiency, you cannot implement any policy efficiently. And so let's begin to divorce political consideration and political interest from the finance of the Free Senior High School policy. The Free Senior High School policy must be managed like any other public policy. We must be mindful of the way we spend money on that policy. The blank check approach in managing the Free Senior High School policy is not the way forward because it is hurting basic education, resources for basic education. And then finally, you see, we need to begin to appreciate that the current 70-30-day boarding system is financially unsustainable. Our secondary education system is the most expensive in Africa. Everybody wants to be a boarder. We have compounded this by providing food for even day students under the Free Senior High School policy. We are spending over 10 million on food every year for just day students. Now, we need to begin to appreciate that even in the pandemic era, we have reopened a lot of junior high schools, about 15,000 of them, more than the 800 senior high schools reopened. But you can hardly hear of COVID infections in junior high schools because they are there. And we are hearing many infections in boarding schools. It tells you that within the COVID and also within the parameters of spending and allocative efficiency, it is wise policy-wise to expand access to Free Senior High School along the community day concept, such that government spends less than 1 cedi a day on a senior high school student instead of spending about 6 cedis a day on the same. Until we begin to debordenize our approach to secondary education by focusing more on expanding access along the line of day students, day schools education, it will be difficult for us to make the Free Senior High School financially sustainable. And when you fail in doing so, you will keep depriving basic education of the much needed resources that they require to improve the quality, to produce the input for secondary education. Very excellent points you make there, Dr. Park. I'd like to run the recommendations by you. What do you make of these very important recommendations that Mr. Asari makes going forward if we want to really sustain this policy? And also the comment about the BEC not being useful anymore.
Well, he is a non-political actor. So obviously, we political actors, and particularly on my divide, we always factor in their contribution and their suggestions. So if they are making this proposal, I think that it is worthy of our attention for consideration. But be as it may, you know, the large chunk of his complaint, if you like, has been about political actors and how this policy has been politicized. Well, rightly so. I mean, if you have the president referring to candidates writing this year as Akufo-Addo graduates, obviously, that is political. And so, you know, we all have some cross to bear or some blame to carry as political actors. But we do agree that one of the sectors of our society, or if you like, our economy, that needs to be divorced from politics ought to be education, and I would actually include healthcare provision. So let's see the way it plays out. But I think that the suggestions that he is putting forward clearly want our attention. But the last point I wish to make is the issue of funding that he raised. I believe very strongly that we ought to get the Auditor General to conduct a special audit regarding the funding of the free senior high school policy.
What's your suspicion?
A lot of things that have been done that many of us, even members of the education committee, get to hear after the fact. And as he rightly alluded to with regards to this procurement of mathematical sets, that was not even part of the program. We had not thought of it. It was not inclusive in the funding that you know, Parliament had approved exclusively for the implementation of the program. And as I indicated earlier on, for the past 3 years, now 4 years that the program has been in existence, in excess of 5 billion. And we don't also know whether this was being drawn from the funding for the Ministry of Education, which was also in excess of 11 billion. So you have some of these issues coming up, these expenditures, and you know, the political actors are running the show. As he said, the Free Senior High School Secretariat is dominated by political elements and appointees. And a lot of us are left in the dark, even members of the committee. You won't believe it, but most of the time we get to hear things at the same time that the rest of the public gets to know. So there's also the need for transparency, for accountability, for all of us to move along in unison to ensure that the program bears the needed benefit that we all desire. With regards to the facing off of the BEC, we will see how it plays out, because if indeed we are going to go by the new curriculum that he eloquently narrated, you know, 4 exams, primary 2, primary 4, primary 6, JHS 2, then truly what would be the justification to ask the students to write another exam only a year after? So let's see how it is going to go. But as the political season is heating up, I can assure you that we'll be hearing our proposal as we see it in terms of the educational sector, in terms of what we believe we have to do to address the challenges which are preventing Ghanaians and Ghanaian students to enjoy the full complement of the free senior school. And we have said, unlike this government, which has not been able to tell us when the double track system is going to be phased out, and I hear the president said somewhere that 2024 or thereabout, we have said that if Ghanaians give us the mandate, within 1 year, we will be able to bring the double track system to an end.
Okay, we'll wait for your manifesto and your policy specifically on education, and we will digest it and ask the necessary questions. Just before we wrap up, and I don't have a lot of time, this batch of free senior high school students, as we've been talking about, they are beginning the exam, the one that really counts today. With all the talks, with all the hype, the attention, there's a lot of focus on them. And I wonder, Ms. Asari, if you can answer this, will the outcome of the exam be so meaningful? I mean, with all the attention that we're giving to them, with all the pressure?
Well, yeah, it is heartwarming that the first batch is finally starting their main examination today. And we've already wished them well at the beginning of the examination last week. But let me say this, that the concentration of attention on the outcomes of this examination is unnecessary. It only makes political sense, but it doesn't make any policy sense or technical sense, in the sense that the grading system WAEC uses is not the type that you can compare over time. They use the norm reference test, an NRT, the norm reference system. And so that system simply, among others, uses the person with the highest score to begin the grading. If I had 80 in maths last year, and I was the highest then, I would be the benchmark for A. And so if this year you had the same 70, but you were not the highest, someone had 90, and the same 70 would be C. And so under the NRT, one disadvantage of that particular scoring system is that it doesn't permit the cross comparison of scores across the periods. Apart from that, examinations come with different stress levels also. And so definitely if you are into assessment, you would know that any attempt to compare performance of students across years using Wassey or BCA it's not a credible exercise. It's not what any education researcher would do, because it has no basis.
All right. Apologies. I'll give the opportunity to land, but we've been joined by Professor Poku Amankwa, who is the Director General of the Ghana Education Service. Of course, we've been referring to his write-up in the graphic today. Good morning to you, Prof. I don't know how much of this conversation you've heard.
Good morning. Sorry for, I believe you've been calling, but I'm in my home village, and this morning I've decided to go around some of the schools in the area, Wenchi, Takrasi, Ede, Assume, as the children write the exams. So I was just getting ready. I only heard about the non-reference test, and if I can make a comment on that, I hope whoever was speaking was referring to a non-reference text in relation to the BECE.
So the person you heard, Kofi Asari, Executive Director, Africa Education Watch.
I regard and good morning to him. So I believe he was referring to the non-reference text in relation to the BECE, which is true. But as far as Wassey is concerned, they use the criterion reference test. So for the criterion, when A is set, if they decide that A is 70, everything about A is 70. If they decide that A is 80, everything about everything about 80 is 8. It is the BEC that they use the non-reference, but this one they use the criterion reference. And that's one you can always compare across cohorts.
Okay.
1992 people, 2002 people, whatever. And then you can also always compare across countries. And that's how come for every year when that result is released, we are able to determine which student was first in Ghana, which student was first across the countries, and then we do special excellence awards for them.
Okay. But we were also talking about the concentration on this batch. We know that this is the first full circle. This is the first really free senior high school students who are writing the exam. But the attention that we're giving them is unnecessary.
The attention?
The focus.
Oh, okay.
And the reference, reference also as Kufuado, you know, the president's name is even on them as students.
Well, I believe what the president said was not that he was referring to them as Kufuado Kaidu, but he said that is what people are saying. So, and then he wholeheartedly accepts that. Why wouldn't he? For the kind of investment that is made in them, obviously he will accept that. So he didn't say that he is calling them, what do you call it, Kufuado Kaidu. But I think the concentration on them, one way or the other, we may have to accept it, because this is the first time that we are doing this kind of thing in our country. And once it is coming in that direction, you expect it. Again, it's also something that is a flagship program of a government. So obviously, there's so much attention and concentration on that. But I believe even the children themselves, I'm not sure they have bought into this kind of concentration. A large majority of them, when you go around, they are seriously learning to make sure that they get a future. So it's probably hard, and those of us who that we can get some advantage out of it in one way or the other, who tend to be doing so much on this. But, for example, if the concentration about doing a supplement on them, it's one of the things that we may want to discuss. Yes, we needed to let people know how far we've gone with it. It's a whole new thing to us, and it's something that we need to bring down. And then, usually when the challenges come, we get to hear of them, but we don't seem to be celebrating the good side of it. We celebrate the good side of it. The issue, the areas where we think we still need to improve on for the betterment of education in Ghana.
Well, Prof, I really wish you had joined us earlier because a lot of recommendations and suggestions have come through from my guests. I can't possibly run all of them by you right now and take your reaction, but I'll note them down. Hopefully you can give us the opportunity to have a sit-down conversation and we can get your reaction.
The good thing about Kofi is that everything that you send out there, before you get it, I get it first. So it's something that, and I always, send him education is dear to him, just as it's dear to us and to a lot of people. So almost everything that he sends out to you, one of the first people who get it is me. And occasionally we will have one or two conversations around it. So we are all in it together and we are all working with it. So I think, right, yeah.
Okay. All right, Prof. We'll have a detailed conversation with you when you return from your monitoring of this examination. That's the Director General of the Ghana Education Service. So unfortunately, we can have a longer conversation with him because of time. And my guests, apologies, we have to end it here. Just to, Dr. Park, can you hear me? Yes, Dr. Park, I'll just give you, the two of you, a minute. Please manage a minute for me so we can wrap this up.
Well, what I would say is that education continues to be a very important sector, and we ought to do our best to ensure that we provide the needed skills, knowledge, and talent for those who are to man the affairs of this nation. And we should do well to depoliticize it, as Mr. Asari has suggested. And we still maintain that we will be able to get rid of the double track system in 1 year, not 2024, as the president has announced.
Thank you very much, Dr. Park. Mr. Asari?
Well, we conclude by saying that a policy that has, within 3 years, increased access to secondary school by about 300,000 certainly cannot be a bad policy. It's a very good policy, one of the best we've seen in this country. And as a policy grows good and bigger, definitely there will be quality challenges because the quantity will increase. And so discussions around the quality of the free senior school policy should be taken in good faith and in proper context. We are wishing the students the best of luck, and we are endearing the political parties to back off commentary around the student performance and the comparisons because it makes the students even nervy. We shouldn't be engaged in comparing the performance of students over time. It has no basis in education policy, so far as I'm concerned. Examinations have different stress levels, and you cannot compare yesterday's master paper to today's master paper. And so let's leave the politics out of the performance of the children, and let's leave the children to write the examination and pass well and move ahead of their lives.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I'll come back to you, Mr. Asari, when the NDC is out with their own policy, and then we will talk about it. I'm grateful for your time. He's the Executive Director, Africa Education Watch. Also on the show, MP for Busa South in the Upper East Region, and Deputy Ranking Member on the Education Committee, Dr. Clement Apak. Thank you, gentlemen. All right. Let's take you live now to the Wassey Interchange Project. It comprises a 4-tier interchange at Wassey, a 5-kilometer Awoshi Wassey Road, 2-kilometer Accra Nsawam Road, 2-kilometer Kwabinya Road, and 10 kilometers of local roads to improve traffic flow in parts of Accra. Nancy Emefa-Jiradosi is my colleague. He's roving today. She's going to be interacting with the project engineer on progress of work and how it has affected traffic flow on the stretch. Over to you, Nancy.
Hi, Mama V. So I am sure that you have probably used this stretch for several times, but you know the traffic situation here. We'll be delving into that, but I am currently standing 22 meters above ground. If my viewers don't know what exactly I'm talking about, I want you to look to my right. You would appreciate the length or the height at which we are standing. So we're actually standing on the tier 4 of this project, which is supposed to connect Awoshi to Kwabenya. So what you see are vehicles moving in and out from Accra towards Kumasi, and also from Kumasi towards Accra. And I must say that the project is steadily moving, but I don't want to take the information out of the lips of the residence engineer. Almost every article I have read about this project has been attributed to one Mr. Bimpon, who is the residence engineer. I would want to engage him briefly and find out, all the questions that people have always wanted to ask about this project. Today we have the opportunity to do so. Thank you very much for your time. So how are you doing?
Thank you very much, and good morning to your cherished viewers. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
And you are doing very well. And how is the project also doing?
Well, the project is also doing very well, despite the challenges that we have. We are striding on and working day and night to ensure that we are able to deliver this project to the good people of the country.
I know that this project was supposed to complete somewhere this year. The timeline, the original timeline, you have had to do some redesigns from tier 3 to tier 4, some expansions, some drains and all of that. I want you to tell me the journey for you and how it has been.
Well, thank you. As you rightly said, this project is expected to be completed by October, which is barely 2 to 3 months from now. And our plan is to be able to complete at least all the ramps. And when I talk about ramps, the first 3 tiers. We are currently on the 4th tier, which is the one from Awoshi or Lebu to Kwabenya. And that might take a little bit of time because of some challenges which are technical. But then for the rest of the ramps, our plan is to try and finish them before the end of the year.
Okay. So we're going to talk about the challenges, but I want you to show me all these, what we have so far. So you said we are standing on this structure.
Okay. So the project, maybe just to give you the scope of the project involves the construction of the Awoshi to Pokwase all the way to the ACP Estate Junction. And let's look from here. Okay. So here we are facing Kwabenya. So this is also a dual carriageway and ends in a single carriageway. Then let's go to the other side. Please, you watch your step. Watch that.
Yeah. Okay. So
we are heading towards the Olebu or the Awoshi section. Okay. Now, watch that. Yeah. So this section goes all the way to meet the old construction, the previous construction that was done also by the Department of Urban Roads. And that is almost 5 kilometers from here. From this end to the other side is about 1.7 kilometers. So that is for the Awoshi to the Kwabenya end. Then we are also doing 2.24 kilometers of the Accra-Kumasi Road. And in our short facing here is the Kumasi end. Okay. Maybe we can stand here. So the Kumasi end or the Pokwase end of the project. And then the Accra end starts all the way from the U-turn, at John Tay. So that is for this part of the road project. In addition to all this, we are providing the usual facilities like pedestrian safety facilities, like road crossing, traffic lights, crash barriers, street lights, and all that you would expect on a road of this nature. Now, one additional thing that we are doing, which is very important, for this construction, is the construction of what we call local roads. So in all the 4 quadrants of this project, we have constructed over 10 kilometers of local roads. And these are almost, let's say, 99% completed. And these were also used as diversion routes during the construction of this interchange. So, and of course, there are others like drainage facilities. And the drainage, I'm not just talking about roadside drains. We have, maybe in your shot, you can see this construction here. Yeah. That is coming all the way from the forest, that is the Guaco. And it is a river, actually. Okay. It is called the, it will come. But this Sunkwa is called the Sunkwa River. Okay. And Sunkwa River goes all the way to meet the Insaki, over 2 kilometers. And this project is constructing this to ensure that we do not have flooding, of those in the downstream section of the project. Okay. So, and then we are also providing other pedestrian facilities for those who will be crossing the Accra-Kumasi Road, because as you will see in a shot, the service road is slightly higher than the main carriageway. And this is done to ensure that people do not cross the road indiscriminately. And to prevent them from doing that, we have all these walls, but then we also have to make a provision for them. So we are providing 2 pedestrian overhead bridges, or what we call the foot bridges. Those are going to be provided, one at the ACP junction and another at the Pokwase junction. Okay. So
I was basically going to talk about the pedestrian crossing the road, okay, and also the traffic that we are currently seeing there. Okay. So you realize that after a certain point, the road is free.
That's right.
But there's a bottleneck. There's some traffic happening at that edge. Is something being done about it? What exactly is causing it, and what is the solution to that problem?
Well, this is being caused by the public transport operators. Okay. That's popularly referred to as the trotros. These trotro drivers, instead of stopping and allowing the traffic to flow, just stop in the middle of the road to pick passengers. However, when this project is completed, they will be on the right-hand side, which is the service road, okay? And that service road has bus bays. Okay. But again, at the end of the day, it is all about enforcement. We are going to make the provision by engineering it. I believe they are going to have education, but enforcement is going to be critical. Because if they stop on those roads, they are going to create a backlog and then create more traffic on the road. And the problem. But then the main road from Accra to Kumasi, which is what we call the first tier, that will be free. Okay. That will be free. That will not have all those encumbrances because there will be nowhere to stop. Oh. And if you stop there, then it means that you are breaking, of course, wherever you stop, you'll be breaking the law. Yeah. But then if you stop there, you have no passengers to pick. So there's no point in stopping in that area. Okay. Yeah.
So let me just bring you back to you talking about this particular stretch that you talk about the river, the drainage. Yes. How was it part of the original plan? Give me details as to how it all came about.
Well, thank you very much. We started with a certain amount of money, but as we went along, we realized that we were going to experience flooding on the downstream side of the project, and we do not want to be irresponsible, so far as the project is concerned. So the African Development Bank, who by the way are the sponsors of this project, provided extra funding for the construction of major storm drains. This is not the only one. This we've done about 700 meters or one. They are providing money to construct an extra 1.2 kilometers of storm drain, 3 meter by 2 meter. There are other storm drains within the communities where they are experiencing flooding. Those drains are also going to be constructed. We also have another one, behind us that comes into the Guaco. That is also going to be part of it. So, as part of the project, this is a road project, but then we are also seeing that there's a need to provide other facilities which would enhance the construction that we are providing, not just providing the road and leaving. We want to make sure, because one of the objectives of this project is to enhance the living conditions of those within the project catchment area. So if after the project we have flooding, then we wouldn't have been able to deliver our mandates, for this construction.
I still see that there are some homes that are still along this stretch. Yeah. Are there plans? Because I know that some monies were allocated for them to be paid, some people to be paid. But I see some buildings still here. After everything, will they still be here, or there are plans to still move them further away?
Well, for the buildings here, they are not in the right of way. Okay. All the structures which were in the right of way have been demolished. Okay. And the recent one was the Skyview Hospital, the one, in a shot on the Accra-Kumasi Road on the right-hand side. That main structure will also go.
The white building?
The white building. We have already demolished one. it is left with this one. We are giving him some time to pack up, and then we'll demolish it. So all the structures which were in the right of way, which were impeding the flow of the work, have been demolished. And the good news is that I think I said sometime back in December or so last year that the monies for these works have been provided and they have been paid. Those that are left are those who, you know, for one reason or the other objected. But then the good news is that as far back as about 2 months ago, they've all accepted and the processing of their checks are underway.
That's good news to hear, but I am sure that you're smiling right now, but I'm sure that during the course of this project, you face
some
some difficulties. Are you able to tell me, if not all?
Well, like any civil engineering project, like I was saying, you design, you have conditions and you think that everything is going to be smooth, but it doesn't go that way. And indeed, this project has suffered a lot of challenges. But the good news is that we have overcome them. The removal of what we call PAPs, project affected persons, like structures on the road, hawkers, and all these people, was a major challenge. Now, the diversion of the road, this is the main Accra-Kumasi road. Over 40,000 vehicles ply this road each day. Now, to move these vehicles without causing major traffic is only going to take a miracle, because, you know, the Accra-Kumasi road has always been a traffic, you know, and that is why we are constructing this road. So that was also, you know, the management of the traffic. Then we also had a lot of utilities, you know, electricity, even the grid core line, what you see in your shot, had to be relocated. Okay. It was first straddling across this bridge, that is the top tier. So we had to move it to the left-hand side and then cross at a point where we have enough clearance. So the grid core, the 330 kV line, was also moved. Others, well, probably the latest is COVID. COVID-19 has presented us with a subtle but very formidable challenge. Why am I saying so? When the COVID came, we decided, that was sometime in March when there was a lockdown, we decided that nobody should travel, because, you know, we have a lot of itinerant workers who have come in from all over the country. And because we also did not know how the transmission was taking place, we decided that nobody should go home. Unfortunately, some decided that they were going to go at all costs. So once they left, they were automatically off. They were not allowed. So for about 2-3 months, we had a reduction of over 100 workers. And that really caused a major setback. But somewhere along the line, we were just thinking, so what do? We cannot employ new people. So we decided that we would now go through the protocols of employing, but before you are employed, you are tested, you go into isolation. If you are found to be negative, you are employed to start working. Otherwise, then you have to go into quarantine. I hope I'm using the terminologies correctly. So you just have to ensure that you are tested negative before you are employed. And that has helped. So for the past about 2 months or so, we've been able to, you know, revamp our strength in terms of labor strength. And now we have a lot of new workers, especially of those who work on the bridges. That's where our challenge, you know, has been. Yeah. So,
well, you talk about the challenges, but after all of this, I see that work is still ongoing. Right. The deadline at first used to be in April 2020, and then you moved it to October. That's right. October is just 2 months away. Are we still going to meet the October 2020 deadline?
Well, I've said somewhere that it is a challenge, but then we are determined to meet this deadline, but not to complete the entire project. Okay. Not to complete the entire project by October. At least all the left hands, okay, of the ramps, and I'll explain to you what the left hands are very soon. All the left hands of the ramps should be ready, you know, by then. What we call substantial completion. By that time, we are hoping that substantially will be completed. The only challenge will be the 4th tier, because the 4th tier requires some experts from China to help us in the, you know, here we are doing what we call the balanced cantilever bridge. where we don't have scaffold supporting our bridge. And we are just moving, you know, just like we are here now. We're moving to go and meet that pier.
Okay.
Okay, this is over 40 meters.
We'll be moving it slowly.
We will be moving it slowly.
Okay.
You know, 2.5 to 3 meters at a time.
Wow.
And at every movement, we need to do what we call deflection checks to check and ensure that it is stable before we move again. That is where the challenge is going to be. But then we are hoping that this would also, if the lockdown, well, there's no more lockdown, but then if our borders are opened, then we should be able to bring these guys quickly in. But then I must say that the contractor has written to the Ministry of Roads and Highways, and they are assisting, you know, to get these guys, you know, in here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so you talk about, you say you're going to explain what the left turns were. So
Yes. So let's move here, and please watch your step. Okay, mind the gap. Okay, so this is the ramp coming from Kumasi towards Kwabenya, and that is the left one down there, and that is level 2. Okay. That is level 2. So it comes all the way from Kumasi. Those going to Kwabenya will make a left turn here, and then we'll move that way. Okay. For the right turn, that has already been done. So the right turn will join. This is the last piece that will be done. They will join those coming from Accra, okay, who are also doing a left turn towards Awoshi. Okay. They will meet them at this point, and then they will go to Awoshi. Now, for those coming from Awoshi, they will be using the ramp on the left-hand side, and then they would also come, make a left turn to Kumasi. That will make a left turn. So this is a continuation of that ramp to Kumasi. And then those from Kwabenya would also make a left turn. Maybe we can go there and have a look at the left turn to...
All right. So we are walking towards...
They would make a left turn all the way to Accra Central or to Accra. So... And then the last tier, which is the 4th tier on which we are standing, will take us from all the way from the Awoshi end to Kwabenya. Okay. So you see that one, we call it Rambi. Rambi, that one. And that is on the 3rd tier. Okay. That is the 3rd tier. The one from Awoshi to Kumasi and the one from Kwabenya to Accra are on the 3rd tier. And those from Accra, from Accra to Awoshi and from Kumasi to Kwabenya are on the 2nd tier. And then the last tier will be the Accra to Kumasi road. Okay. Yes. So that's where? Down there. Down there. Okay. Yeah, okay. Down there. That's the first tier. So that will be at grade, you know, at the very last.
Okay, so that means that, so if I understand you now, you're saying that all those ones will be completed by October, but this tier 4 will not.
The El Clote interchange in South Africa. This is the second one in Africa that is for a 4th-tier interchange, and you can Google it and find out, El Clote. And in West Africa or the south of the Sahara, we don't have anything like this. Yeah, 4th-tier interchange, yeah.
All right. So, Mama V, I'm excited to be here because when we got here, Mr. Bimpon was telling me that I'm the first journalist. I'm here with my camera technician. He's also the first camera technician. My driver is also here. We are the first batch of journalists
that's true.
in this country to have been able to climb this tier 4 structure. It wasn't easy, Mama V, but I'm glad we are here and we are seeing everything for ourselves. So for now, we know that the project, all the other projects will be done by October, but the tier 4 is what will not be able to complete by that deadline. So Mama V, that's the situation here. I'm sure that very shortly we'll go down and show you the traffic situation on this particular stretch of the road. Okay,
but Nancy, book Engineer Bimpon. Tell him that's my stretch. I need a tour. After work, I'll come for a tour myself. We'll come back to you and gauge the traffic situation on the ground proper. That's Nancy.
I'm going to tell him.
All right, great. Nancy Emefajiradosi roving for us today at the Pokwase Interchange project. There you have it with all the updates. Stay with us. One more thing before we bring you show business. The president recently eased restrictions for open bars. How are people patronizing these pubs? 2 weeks after the easing of these restrictions, here is Maxwell Agbagba interacting with some patrons.
Of Ghana. We have the president here with us, and a man who describes himself as the chief of staff of the Drunkards Association of Ghana. Well, they represent the views of the drunkards. We want to find out from them how it is even possible to ensure social distancing whilst drinking and adhering to COVID-19 and protocols. Come along. Okay. So yeah, good evening, guys. How you doing? How is life?
Yeah, we are good.
Okay.
Salah.
Okay.
So as you see us today,
yeah,
we are celebrating Salah.
Okay. You were saying, as I can see here, I can see your eyes. What's happening to your eyes? Oh. Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you fine?
Yeah.
Good, but your eyes.
That's how my eyes is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That one there.
Okay.
But as you can see, I have malts.
Okay, so it's malt you're drinking, but you look a bit, I don't know. It looks like you're drunk. I don't know.
No.
You're not drunk?
I'm not drunk.
Okay, thank you. Let me speak to your president, Moses Onya, a.k.a. Drybone.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. How you doing?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. As you can see, it's been a while since we sit at a place like this, since we met. For the past 6 months, we've never had a chance to sit like this. So for the first time...
Is this 6 months yet? I thought it was just March.
No, it started from late February, March, April, May, June, July. So almost 5 months now.
Yeah, 5 months, yeah. Okay.
That we've been starving.
You've been starving?
Yeah.
If you say starving, what do you mean by starving? You've been eating, or you've been starved of alcohol? Is that what you want to say?
Starved of alcohol and other beverages, because we've not been drinking for some time now, and it has affected some of us, our immune system. Yeah, of course.
How has it affected your immune system?
You know, first, when you take 2 shots of some bitters, it will boost your appetite, and you can be able to eat well. When you get some abitier or akpele and ataji, you will be able to hammer all. But because for some time now we've not been drinking, sometimes we cannot even finish 2 bowls of food. So we are responsible drinkers, and we drink responsibly to create employment. Because since we stopped drinking, people have been sitting home without jobs. Waitresses and waiters have no jobs to do, bartenders have no work to do. So it has affected a lot of employment. For some months now, we've not been drinking because of coronavirus. Waitresses and waitresses are sitting in the house. Bartenders are sitting in the house. Factory workers were laid off. So by so doing, unemployment rate increased in the country. So we drink responsibly to create jobs. And you know, once you kiss a glass, you become a default member of the association. So our association is one that helps the economy to grow, because if a bottle paid 10 pesos per tax, imagine over 1 million bottles circulating in the country and beyond, and the tax that they are giving to the country. You see, that was why we were saying that the president should have had an intensive consultation with us before he lifted the ban, because right now most of the drinks were kept in the bar for quite a long time. Some of them might have expired. Some of them, the cork will rust. Something like this, it will rust. And when you drink them, it can create health issues in your system. So like the president should have considered all those aspects and had an intensive consultation with the Drunkards Association, the Food and Drugs Authority, Ghana Medical Association, other stakeholders that are involved, so that we'll be able to put our heads together before they lift the ban on drinking.
So what would you have suggested to the president if the Drunkards Association had been consulted before the restriction on open air bars, are lifted?
Yeah. What we would have done is that, we would have found a way of flashing all the expired products in the drinking spot. We have found a way of flashing all of them out for new ones to be brought into the drinking spot. And second, the government would have even created a relief fund for bar owners, so that once they spend their initial capital to cater for their family, the government should have given them some relief fund to enable them buy new products to put into their shops, or to stock their shops in order to, so that they'll be paying it small. That was what we're expecting from them. And tourism ministry, they are aware that this sector is giving them money. So with intensive consultation, it will even help us the more to be able to see the number of beverages that are expired, the ones that are fermented, over-fermented, the ones that, the one that with the corks that are rusted. Then we'll be able to flash all those drinks. Right now, somebody will drink and his lips will get pale, his cheeks will swollen. All these ones are as a result of drinking not the unqualified, or the alcohols that are not quality enough or good for human consumption.
Interesting. So now let's talk about how we can adhere to the COVID-19 protocols whilst enjoying our open air bars such as this one. Do you think it's even possible at all for us to adhere to the COVID-19 protocols, social distancing and the wearing of masks? Right now, you're drinking, so your mask is under your chin. Your friend, he has a bandana, not even a face mask. Yeah. How can we drink whilst respecting the COVID-19 protocols?
As you can see, that is why we've reduced the number of people at the drinking spot. For now, we'll be doing it double track system, where people will have to come and drink from morning 6 and close at a particular time. We'll be giving them card, depending on where you usually drink.
So wait, this is something the Drunkards Association of Ghana will be pushing. Is this something you'll be pushing?
Yeah.
That we should start running a double track.
The double track system. There are some particular bars. Most of our members are very known, so we don't want people to be overcrowded in the drinking spot. So what we intend to do is that we are going to separate them. Some people will have to come and drink from morning 6. Those who are, it depends on the work you do. Then we'll give you a tag. Then when you drink up to that level, you go home. Then you allow others to also come, especially an open space like this, where people can just rush in during the rush hours to come and drink. So it will depend on the work you are doing.